Hey, everybody. Want to welcome you to the January 2025 Businessology Show. Before we dive into this episode with Carolyn Johnson, that is going to be super exciting as you head into 2025, I wanted to stop and share just a few thoughts about the Businessology Show. We will have been doing the Businessology Show for 12 years and 1 month. So this show is 12 years in 1 month. And so I remember back in August 2011, got my Podcasting for Dummies book and started another podcast in 2011 and then started the Businessology Show. January 2013 is when we launched this show so many years ago. So it's a long, long time. Just started it with Dan Mall, a good friend. And we had such a fun time. About 2.5 years we did the show, and then I went solo after that. Even Dan and I had some teaching events that we did around the country. So it was a lot of fun under the heading of the Businessology Show. But I just want to let you know that this is our last show forever of the Businessology Show. So that's a big deal to us. And you know, when that happens, you always wonder, why are we doing that? Should we do it? And of course, that was our question. Specifically, Julie and I, my partner, we talked about that a lot. And so why would we want to end? And it's really odd when a lot of times endings in life come when the thing that needs to end is not a good thing, right? So you're going through something and that's bad and you end it and then you can move on to something else. And that's not the case with the Businessology Show. It is just, I love the show. The guests, as you'll see this episode coming up with Carolyn Johnson, I just learned so much from people. So it has, for 12 years, this show has been part of my education, my master's degrees that I've been learning and gaining from so many different people and a lot of just great friends now that I know. So why would you end it? Well, there are times when you end things that are working. And that basically means we have to redirect our efforts. That's basically what we're doing. The Businessology Show has carried us for so long, and now it's time, as we've really, after 12 years, you change in your career too. And so we're able to market and focus in other more valuable ways. And so we're really committing our time and focus and direction to other things. And we serve agencies in a much deeper way than even we did 12 years ago. And so it's time to say goodbye to something that's been so valuable and is enjoyable and continues to be enjoyable, and say yes to other new directed efforts of our value. And that's what we're doing. So I'm sad to say that this is the last show of the Businessology Show. And who better to go out with Carolyn Johnson and all of just the high-level thoughts and ideas and encouragements she has for the agency services industry as it grows. We'll leave the Businessology Show episodes up, but we won't be producing anymore. Of course, I have another podcast that I lead for another profession for over 13 years on that one. So really, we're 25-year veterans of podcasting, which is amazing. So the things I've learned are really mind-blowing. So we're wrapping up here. And so just want to say, first of all, thank you, Dan Mall, good friend. And thank you for kicking this off with me and us doing this together. Thank you, Julie, my partner, and our team as we've supported, all of this work for so long. Thank you to 98 Central, our studio, our podcasting team that has helped us for so many years. And of course, the last people to thank are the listeners. We did this for you. Of course, I was one of you. Listeners, I'm with you. I'm sitting here in the studio listening. So I was a listener and am a listener too of the podcast. So I hope you've learned as much as I've learned by being a listener, and just want to welcome you to this last show of the Businessology Show. I hope you enjoy it. And just make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, Jason Blummer, and we'll catch you on the flip side of new directed values headed to new things in life. Wish you a great 2025 and many years beyond. Thanks for listening. We'll see you. Take care. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Businessology Show. This is a great show. We want to actually help teach agency owners how to grow, scale, how to run this human-based business. So we have great guests that really teach us how to do this. They have great skills in doing this work. And I'm really excited to have Carolyn Johnson, the co-founder of the Business Model Company, a specialist consultancy, and they really just operationalize, redesign agencies that are trying to scale. She normally works with very large agencies. We may hit on some case studies and books that have covered some of her work later, which is really exciting. So Carolyn is an experienced management consultant with 20 years developing some of these models that help sustain these service-based organizations trying to grow, from KPMG, 10 years at the corporate advisory as a partner for Results International before co-founding this current business, the Business Model Company, about 9 years ago. So Carolyn, thank you for coming on the Businessology Show.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you for being here. So you have an experience really in, I guess, service-based management consulting. So if I ask you why the agency and marketing services industry, is it just because you've always been in that industry, or did you pick specifically that industry?
I started off at Grey Advertising. That was my first job outside of university. And I worked in strategy and planning at Grey. And then after about 3 years, moved over to KPMG to start quite a long-term management consulting career. But I was still working in media and entertainment as a specialist vertical back then.
Okay.
So I was still within the creative industry. And then I moved to Results International as a partner in corporate advisory, still in global marketing services and creative.
Okay.
And it was really then that we started repackaging service agencies so that they could transact at twice the multiple range. So we were very much working in value creation back then, and moving quite scaled, really strong independent agencies from the sort of service valuations and multiples of 6 to 9 into program or product or tech or platform multiples that start at 12 and got to 24. So we specialized in that. And that was over a decade ago. We were doing that work. And then I found that so exciting and so necessary and important in creative service industries and businesses that I decided just to specialize in business model transformation. And that's when we formed TBMC 9 years ago to do just that work.
Okay. Well, so we consult with service-based organizations too, and they're really human-based organizations. There's just relationships everywhere. Everything you change and build and do and price is through some other human. So it turns out, from the outside, it looks like a simple business model, but it's actually very complicated because of the human interaction. So there's a lot of leadership within that. Do you think that's true? Is it complex? And also, why do service organizations need to change in the first place? Why is what they're doing not working? I mean, that's a lot of questions, I know, but
it's a lot of questions.
Yeah, just big picture. Yeah, what do you think about services organizations, their ability to scale, and the complexity about doing that?
So let me try and answer the first question first, which was, is the business model for service industries complicated and complex? I think my honest view is no. I think it is very much relationship based, as you talked about. it tends to operate on what we call the goodwill service model, which is this behavioral and sort of belief system that if you over-service and if you manage really positive relationships with your clients, say yes to a lot of things, then you'll be rewarded with more goodwill and therefore more market share, more revenue, more briefs, more pitches, whatever it might be. So I think we've over-indexed on the relationship part of the business model. And that means that the commercial model and the commercial principles are missing completely.
I see. Okay.
And because of that, commercial confidence is missing. The ability to innovate and keep challenging the operating system is also missing. And I think we've just got stuck for quite a long time in a service industry model where we might have the capability, but the mindset and culture is around being order takers. It's a do for me. And we don't tend to stand in our own authority. We tend to wait quite passively for the market and for clients to provide new briefs, more revenue opportunities to pitch, whatever it might be. So
RFPs, whatever, yeah.
RFPs. So I think we have a missing commercial model. We have a lazy operating system because we sell effort and time. If you're selling hours and rates, you're not selling innovation or creativity. You're actually selling effort and time. And that makes for a really lazy operating system because you do tend to be rewarded for inefficiency and slowness. Now, 10 years ago, the market conditions allowed for that lack of clear definition around the business model. You could still sustain your business and make some profit. The problem is as our industry has got more commoditized and we've almost given our pricing model to our clients and we're selling commoditized services, which are really just lists of process and delivery vehicles, no real inherent value in it whatsoever. Because we've sort of abdicated responsibility for the business model, as the market has changed and moved, we have not been able to really be able to direct our businesses so that there is real relevance and scale for the industry. The gap between where the market is and where the industry's business model is now just too big. We've got too left behind, and we're losing relevance. So that's a long answer to your first question, but that's, I think, the summary of how we've got to where we've got to.
Okay, so wow, that's pretty insightful. And so just to summarize, and I think we see the same thing. To summarize, it's less commercial based principles where you actually scale and run a business. It's more human related, more relational, as you say.
Absolutely.
And so does that put a lot of agency leaders in the place of not being strong on their pricing, over serving, not caring about staying within scope, which are a lot of commercial-based properties or principles that they shy away from out of fear of hurting a relationship? Is that what some of those types of things happen as a result of this?
Absolutely, you've summed it up perfectly. When you're relationship-based, your biggest fear is rejection,
right?
And clients saying no.
Yep.
It makes for that sort of supplier mentality rather than partner mentality.
Right.
You tend to just say yes to everything, and that's not good for your clients. It's the same as raising spoilt, over entitled children.
Right.
You're actually not doing them any favors. Tough love is just as relevant as a parent as it is when you're working with clients, because if you want to be commercially respected and you want to really add value to your clients' businesses, then you have to be commercially principled on behalf of your clients. And that means that there needs to be some commercial parameters to how you operate. And you also have to have the ability to understand the difference between what your clients want and what they need. So if you only work and respond and engage in the want stage, you are order takers and you are suppliers, and you will suffer from the commoditization. If you can always try and reframe the want into what is the actual market context and the business context, and if we take commercial responsibility for our clients' investment with us, we're more likely to be able to reframe something and say, there are better ways that you can spend your money, or there are more sustainable ways that you can support and scale your businesses and your brands. So I
Which,
think, go ahead.
well, and so, and I can tell the things you talk about. Of course, Tim Williams is one of your partners in the business model company,
Absolutely.
and so the way you're speaking is really leaning towards being really displaying yourself, positioning yourself as an expert, which is what establishes our ability to really hold on to really strong commercial-based,
Yes.
principles. So we walk into a room as an expert, knowing how not to be sucked in by the relational side, but knowing sometimes being the highest priced person is what allows you to care for the client more than if you base yourselves on some kind of commodity input like billing by the hour. But you're saying agency owners, we're people too, so they'll struggle with being scared to position, and it's so odd when we work with agencies. Sometimes the thing they struggle with is they're not positioned strongly at all in the market. And it's like, well, that's what you do. They do it for other people. And they're like, no, I don't want to say that. It might drive people away. So there's a lot of fear in not
Yeah.
positioning well.
I think, Jason, that's such an important point that you've raised there, because that is something that I do want to spend some time talking about. There is a sort of narcissistic quality to a service industry. And what I mean by that is we have this incredible sort of capability with our clients to package up, to tell stories, create narratives, engage buyers, change behavior. But when we're talking about ourselves, we just do this thing called mirroring, which is you just hold a mirror up and you talk to yourself. And I sort of challenge anyone listening to this recording and this podcast today to look at their go-to-market story and look at their language. Because if they are using we words, they're talking about themselves. So this idea of positioning ourselves as we are this, that, and the other, and it's all the same. It's all about you and how you want to be seen by the external market. We don't create our stories and our positioning when the doing has been done. Consultancies create their stories after the work has left the building. And it's anything that talks about we are doing this or we are doing that, you're talking about effort and process under your roof. And that's because you've been charging hours. I challenge everyone to not use we words. And how can you create a new story of value in the hands of your clients when it's left your building? So the language starts, it's the language of value, which is you will have you will feel. You can. It's talking about
Wow.
value in the hands of the client, not what you do under your roof.
Mm.
And we are really, really bad at talking a completely different language.
Wow. Okay. So that's there's a lot in there, and so you walk agencies through change like a 12. You have a 12 module program. I think you
Five.
use. Okay.
I love your ambition,
Okay.
Jason.
Wow.
Would
I
you
was
like to come and work for us?
like, you're like 12. Hell no, I don't have time for 12. You got 5 shots at this.
It might feel like 12,
Okay. Yeah.
but I promise you it's
Yeah.
5.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's 5.
So, which is basically, from what I'm hearing, you're trying to help them move away from this really a false relational model to a more commercially driven, principled model. And it's probably got tons of stuff related to it: how they price, how their language, how they approach the market, positioning, a lot of different things. Do they struggle to change, or has somebody hired you that's already ready to change enough where it works, or do you have to fight the client to change? Because that change is going to be pretty hard for them, depending on how many years they've stayed in that relational model, I'd imagine.
We tend to attract committed leaders.
Okay.
My job isn't to change their mind. I think my job is to partner with the businesses that are already standing still is not an option. So, I always say, yes, change is hard and it's scary, but not changing is terrifying. So we tend to the leaders who recognize that they've outgrown the current model, or they've had all the growth. It's not that they might be really struggling. It's just that they recognize they've had the best of that old model and it's time to move on. So they've lost ceiling height. They want to double their businesses every 3 years on much stronger margins, but they can't they can't see that visually. So for us, the best people to work with are committed leaders who really have bought in to the fact that evolving the business model is absolutely non-negotiable.
I see.
And the other thing that I think is important here is you have to put your client's interests first, not your own. So if we get asked to come in and do a bit of productization or pricing or client negotiation, we always say no to tactical project work, because for us, success comes from moving from maybe a creative agency to a creative business, or a digital service company to a tech and innovation business. It's you've got to want to play in a different game and be in a better neighborhood. So if you recognize that you've got terrible landlords, noisy neighbors, declining house prices, then rather than keep painting the front door, it's much better to move to a better neighborhood where you have great landlords, great neighbors, and really, really, you might not be the best house in the neighborhood, but you're in a thriving neighborhood. And that changing the game, the language, the engagement model, the relationship model is absolutely essential. So I think our clients recognize the from to.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to go from service to value. They want to go from effort to solutions.
Okay.
They know the from and they know the to. And I'm not there to sort of set that up for them. What they don't know is how to safely transition.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the bit we can do, is provide them with a program and a methodology where they cannot fall off. As long as they stay committed, it will get them from there to there safely. And we call that rewiring the house with the lights on.
Okay.
Because that's what it is. and you trying not to get electrocuted,
Right.
but you have to
Yeah.
honor what you've built so far and take it with you. This idea that you're going to announce next week you're a different type of business and clients have to engage with you in a different way is nonsense.
It doesn't work.
No, it's naive. I mean, you just, you're known as Jason. You are Jason.
Yeah.
Even if you call yourself something else, you're still at heart Jason.
Right.
So I think that there are fundamentally incredibly important ways to rethink about this. Doing a bit of productization does not work. Productizing services is not going to cut it. It's not going to be enough. Having a new go-to-market cred story or positioning is not going to do it. You need to change the game, and that is a cultural transformation leap.
So it's moving to a new market or becoming really it's a mental change for the owners, the leaders to think about themselves different or even more accurately. And so that's why, and I'm trying to summarize what you're saying, you won't tackle the tactical projects because they're kind of prima facie. They're not the foundational issue that y'all need to change, which is you need to transition. This world is different than the one you're operating in, and what used to work doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And so you walk them through the fear or whatever they have to walk through to actually operate in a different way.
I think, yes, and I think the fear is the unknown, and I have huge empathy with that. Of course, they don't know how to lead a business whilst keeping the lights on, but transition it to a different business model. Of course, they don't know how to do that, but we do. And I often, so one of these sort of accusations that is often sort of thrown at us is, yes, but TBMC works with really big clients. And I say, but 2/3 of our client base were 30 people when we started. They might be 300 people now, but that's
Wow.
because we're successful. We
incredible.
start with small businesses and they become big businesses. So that's obviously what we're here to do. But I think creating different engagement models and coming away from that doorbell that says, give us a project, give us a brief. That's too limiting.
Okay. Yeah.
Not standing in your own authority. We tend to, again, the service mentality, we tend to wait for authority to be given to us by our clients.
Right.
And we stand in our socks, not in our trousers, is the way I always talk about it. We need to put on some big boy trousers. Standing in your socks is not a good look.
I love the stories. These really make sense, when you describe them.
Put some big boy trousers on. Reclaim your authority. Give yourself permission.
Yeah. And in a sense is basically saying you actually are more than you think you are. So put the pants on that you should be wearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's on?
Not put on fake pants. Put on the ones that are yours that you have a right to wear.
Don't put on fake pants. You put on your own trousers. They're gonna feel a little bit big to start with because you've been in your socks for a long time. But you'll soon get used to
I love it.
in big boy trousers, and that's what it feels like. You've got to reclaim your creativity, your commercial integrity. Reclaim what are you in this business for? You're not in this business to talk about hours and effort. You're in this business to create value in the world through creativity, through entrepreneurialism, through innovation. And almost every business we work with has all the capability it needs. It's in a chokehold of the wrong business model. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you something really, I think this will be very practical. If a brand new agency comes to you, let's say they're 15 million, I don't know if you'd work with that size agency. That
Yeah,
might
all
be
the time.
small.
Yeah.
Okay. And they say, I think we need you to help us implement a new business model. How do you know if they're right? Like what kind of question, like what are you going to look at on their website? What kind of questions are you going to ask them to go, oh, definitely you need us? Or the questions you would ask to go, we can't help you. What are those practical things? I'm sure you have some pretty quick ones. What are those?
Yes. I mean, I think if a business is 15 million, the question is there'd be two questions. One is, do you want to be 30 million, and then do you want to be 60 million? And if they say yes, I'll say, do you know how to do that? And if they say no, but we really, really want to find out, then I think, great, they're curious. And they really want to work out what does it take to double the business and double it again. So they need some ambition. They need to be restless. They need to recognize they've had growth, and growth is going to be hard. They've outgrown the old model. They want to add more value to their clients. I think what to answer the question in another way, what I walk away from, which is probably what you're interested in,
Yeah.
is when they show the wrong belief system, and that is assumptive. So the sort of things that make me worried are when they say, "But procurement won't let us," or they say,
I see.
"I can see this working in new business, but not with existing clients," or if we don't pitch and give everything away for free, we won't win. Or what if our competitors don't change and we change? Are we then not competitive? If they are demonstrating to me through their questions that they feel that the market and the outside world is strangling them and restricting their ability to evolve and transition, I get very worried, because that is a sense of powerlessness. They've lost their power.
Like the market won't let me.
I hear that all the time. My clients won't let me, competitors won't let me, intermediaries, RFPs won't let me. And I always say, are you 5 years old? Have you listened to yourself? This is not mummy won't let me. This is your business, and you stand in your authority. You give yourself back permission, and you take back your power. We have all of our clients will say the same thing. Actually, it wasn't the market, it was us. Clients will engage in a different way. They are asking for different commercial models. They want more value, more efficiency, more transparency. The restrictions you're feeling and the pressure you're feeling is in your head. You've got to get out of your own way. And that's where I make the judgment.
Okay.
Which is there an acceptance and an openness that the market is not the biggest threat. It's actually the culture, the values, the behaviors, and the belief that have got so systemized and codified in a service mentality that we've sort of disempowered ourselves and given pricing, engagement model, and our growth strategy to the market. When you actually unpack it and stand back and think about it, it's madness. It really is.
Yeah.
So I think that's the empowerment and I think that's what we're really good at, is giving that belief and confidence back and allowing the value to rise again to the top. You've got to extract the value from the restrictiveness of a business model that's actually completely almost irrelevant now.
And it comes from that, sometimes that restless founder who already believes in themselves and in their organization that they can make the change. You're trying to work with that restless founder that does believe but doesn't know how to do it,
Yeah.
and that's who you can really help. What do you do with this profession? Do you call it a profession or an industry? What's the label you
What
give?
the service industry.
Okay, so
I mean,
this service
more
industry.
professionals. I mean, it's endemic across most professional services. So
Okay,
it extends into the sort of professional service corporate world as well.
yeah,
So legal, accounting, architecture, management consulting. Sometimes if it's if it's on the wrong model,
right. So
it extends across.
because at its base, it is service related work that we're trying to do inside in the world. Now,
Mhm.
so this services industry, it's I mean, especially the agency space, it's not too old of an industry. Like some industries are completely very, very old. So we regularly now run into people who have been running agencies for 30 years, and it's like that's a long time.
Mm.
And so some of those founders are just, especially through the pandemic, they are worn out, and
Mm.
they're like, no, thank you for another change. What if they come to you and say, can you help me change this so I can sell it? Is that do you think that's indicative of a different belief model that you can't work with, that they're worn out? Or do you need them all in for however long this is going to take them? Like, what about that owner leadership team that are just worn out and they're just trying to get rid of this thing? Would you not touch that at all?
Well, it depends on the timeline. If they want to sell it in 6 months, then you're not really going to achieve
Mm,
any valuation. I mean, you can do a bit of repackaging, you can tell a better story,
sure.
you can be more commercially tough for a while. But fundamentally, you'll be selling it as a service business. And I really sympathize with that because I work with founders who are, really emotionally open with us. I
Mm,
mean,
sure.
every week, multiple times,
Mm,
I hear, the same things, which is this is not fun anymore.
right. I
I've
hear
given
that.
my life, sometimes my health, my
I
marriage,
hear that.
time with my children, and
Mm,
I can't do it anymore. I don't enjoy it. Um, so I'm a big believer that you have one life, and we're here to spend that time with our loved ones and what really matters. If you're not enjoying it, then it's a no-brainer to me. So there's a difference, I think, Jason, though, between a fire sale
mhm.
and actually I've got something that is actually still of value, and it's time for me to take that value out of it.
Yeah.
They're slightly different conditions, and I empathize with both of those. But I'd say half our client base have an eye on a exit
Okay.
opportunity in about 3 to 5 years' time, and they realize that it's going to be hard work. They're going to have to give it everything they want, but continue to do it on the old model makes no sense.
Okay.
So being able to move up the value chain away from service into the higher multiples, and I mean 12 to 18, requires some shape shifting. And
Okay.
that shape shifting is changing neighborhood, changing the game, and some clever packaging. You've got to do more than comms and campaigns. You've got to limit time-based charging. You need automation. You're going to need some productization.
Okay. Okay. So just that question, I wondered what would be embedded in the thought process of a founder or leader in how you would perceive the ability of them to change. So I guess do you have a time frame? Do you tell them this is 3 years minimum? And is that your engagement, or does it totally depend? Like for people listening, if they're going, hey, I need to change the way Carolyn is saying, how long is it going to take them? But like at the minimum.
We work with them intensely in the first year. So our as we touched on earlier, our program has 3 phases and 5 modules. The first 3 modules, which covers all of the repackaging, the business case, the commercial models, everything they require, we work through that with them in the first year, and we operationalize it, and then we publish it in a playbook, a plug and play playbook, which is the manual of that new operating system. That new operating system then allows them to be able to utilize different talent models that are not available when you're working in the old model, and also work and connect with different partners and really be able to think about how they scale their business much more quickly and safely, because they've got a codified and standardized operating system that covers everything.
Very cool.
So it's really liberating. So I think, businesses that are 3 years away from maybe wanting to transact, we would be working closely with them for 18 months and then just staying on hand after that.
Okay.
To ensure that we're hitting all the right markers.
Okay. So Carolyn, why is it necessarily now that the agency services model does need to change? Has the market changed? Like, did the pandemic do something, or what happened that you're speaking like it's permanent, and so you've got to operate differently now forever? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what happened? What is it?
AI has made and is making a huge impact on, if I just pick on creative services.
Sure.
So if you are selling creative services or production services or media services or digital services, that work is likely to go. So I think the ability for AI to actually be able to take what we used to do with humans and automate it, that's only going to get more and more advanced. Now, you can adopt AI into your businesses as long as you don't have time-based charging. If you have time-based charging, you're absolutely stuffed, or snookered, as we say. I don't know if you've heard that phrase.
Because it's going to make you more efficient, so you get to charge less as a gift from AI.
Yes, it's madness. We're seeing now clients asking for 25-30% discount for their agencies because they just see it as a lever to drive pricing down again. And you can't adapt, you can't adopt, and you can't compete. You're stuffed. So the thought that you could set up in the future a beautiful AI-powered tool store for your clients, and they can come in and self-serve. If you're in digital services or creative services, then part of your engagement model and proposition to clients can embrace it, and you can create beautiful products and outputs that are AI-powered, that are priced on value, and that means that there's no difficulty in charging properly, and they are on a self-serve platform or in a self-serve store. A lot of our clients, we're setting up memberships, which is a whole new commercial model. Bronze, silver, gold. Clients can buy memberships, and they can say, okay, I'm a silver member. That means I can have so many creative assets per month, and I can pick and choose them from the store because they're all productized and AI powered. And if in a month I need gold membership, I'll just upscale for a month.
Mm,
So you're still a creative business, but you are using technology to be smart and also and pass that gift on to your clients. It just requires different models.
that is amazing. Caroline, I prepared a bunch of questions. I haven't asked any of them,
Oh, right.
but we're
Do you want to
running.
do a rapid fire round and I'll try and keep my answers short?
No. It's but I get creative. I get curious, and I'm like, I want to know things that you're saying. So we are running out of time, but I am really interested because I know one major change you're going to be tackling is getting rid of time. I guess there's a lot of way.
Oh, we have to get rid of time.
Yeah, is it time tracking? Is it billing off of time? Are those different? Is it value pricing? Is it fixed pricing? What are you going to require that change to involve related to how they make their money?
You need to stop thinking that your value is in your effort, first of all.
Okay.
So recognize that if you're selling time, you're selling effort. You're not selling value, you're selling effort. Therefore, you're likely to have a list of commoditized services that are all empty vehicles.
Effort-based models, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that means you've got a lot of wine bottles with no wine in them.
Okay.
So if you think about, we're talking about the wine bottle, which is the delivery vehicle. We're not talking about the quality of the wine.
See. Okay.
We're literally talking about empty wine bottles. We've forgotten the wine. That's the important bit,
Right.
and also where the value is and the pricing points. Because the bottle is commoditized; it's glass. So I think this idea of it's all about process and effort. It's not. It's about what happens when the doing is done. So first of all, think about that. You will not be able to sustain your businesses and compete on time-based charging in the future, full stop. So
Wow.
recognize that, don't be scared of it, and prepare yourselves and the team in your business to start your own change program. Don't be scared of AI. There are lots and lots of ways that you can bring it in for yourselves and your clients that will make, which will be very value additive to both of you. Start to understand the operating system and commercial model around moving from service to solution, which is, we're now a program solution business, or we're a product business. That shift is going to be essential to be able to thrive in the future market.
Okay.
And start to explore that. Start to equip yourself with new models and different ways of engaging.
Yeah.
That will mean that you can keep the lights on as long as you need in the time-based charging, but you are scaling up other areas in your business that will, as the time-based charging comes down, you are scaling up other areas that are future-proofed and can thrive.
Okay.
And that in a nutshell is what it's all about.
Okay. And that'll be a little bit complicated for them to run really essentially two different business models in one, but you're trying to keep the lights on in this agency so that it continues to operate and provides payroll for the team members. So if they're billing time, just know that has to go away eventually, and you're trying to build up some other solution-based offering with a
Yes.
different pricing model that represents value
Yes.
while you pull down a lot of that time and billing
Yes.
type work.
Absolutely. You've got to trade through it carefully and safely. And differentiation. That's why we create new front doors with our clients. The gateways into your business for your clients, that requires separation. So you'll still have a time-based model, which might be door number one, but door number 2 and 3 are set up in what we call culturally virgin spaces to scale. They're not contaminated by the service mentality. You can't take new models to a service culture, and that's quite a strong message to your audience.
Yeah.
And I really mean it when I say that. do not take your new business models, don't bring them into that service culture, because the service culture eats new business models for breakfast.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You've got to have separation and clean new spaces where there's no time-based charging, and that you are scaling them on the right operating system and KPI models and commercial models from day one. And so they're like startups. They're like
Okay.
pure, clean, healthy startups.
Yeah. Now, but as you go to market with some of these changes, some go-to-market strategy will have a different team model too to support now how to deliver that thing. So are you saying within the same agency, the more, designers and maintenance and support or whatever is in departments that do time and billing, those team members cannot work on the solutions-based, value-based work? Like you separating the teams internally too?
It's such a good question.
Yeah.
We don't ask our clients to hire any new people. So our job is to repurpose
Okay.
the people they have. So we create a whole new operating system with different job titles. So there is no more client service. There's no more account management. There's no more project management. We repurpose and sort of repackage the talent to be program leads, commercial product managers, commercial heads on behalf of their clients.
Wow.
And then we have capability heads and capability leads. And those, those people are the people that you would recognize: head of strategy, executive creative director,
Yeah.
head of client service, but they're capability heads. So
That's cool.
you start with a small area in the business that is that task force. As you're starting to sell programs and products and engage with clients in different ways, you create a pure space that's uncontaminated. And for some time, the people have to wear different hats, because we would be rubbish at what we do if success required significant investment. The businesses we work with don't have that bandwidth. That's not an option. They've got too much investment already.
Right. That's the problem.
That's the problem. How bad would we be if we said you've got to go and hire these 10 people to be successful? You have to repurpose what you have, take everyone on the journey, create that unique, safe place in your business, start as you mean to go on, and then let it grow. And then more and more gets transitioned across.
Very cool. Okay, Caroline, I promise this is the last question.
You must remind me to have short answers.
No, I keep
I'm sorry,
probing
ask a
you.
short question.
This is so good. Okay, so this is a special show because it's the first show in January 2025 is when this airs. So, I mean, and I think we don't have time past this question. So, what do you want to say to the agency space that might be struggling? They've heard you. They're like, I need to change. And you've said a lot of things, right, that they need to do. Is there something you would bring to the surface and say, this is something you really need to think about moving forward in the next, 3-5 years? 2025 is maybe the beginning to start doing this thing. And maybe it's already something you've said, but what would that message be?
I think don't be scared. I think fear causes paralysis. And it's easy for me to say, but
It's true.
it is fear that stops us evolving and changing. Once you're on a change journey, then that feels quite normal. And you're but the paralysis around every year we have the same conversation and we know we need to change, but we're not really committing, to anything. That is not a good place to be. So I think conquer the fear, be committed, put your big boy and girl trousers on, recognize you're standing in your socks. I think, reclaim your value and your brilliance. There's no limit in the amazing, magical creativity in any of our clients.
Very cool.
They have everything they need. What they don't have is the business model.
Nice.
So I think it's bring back in your belief and your confidence in what you're here in the world to do and to deliver.
Yeah.
Because creativity, the world needs more creativity. It really, really does.
Yeah.
And we have a fantastic industry
Yeah.
that's just got a bit lost.
Yeah. Well, and that's hopeful because a lot of times we can point to AI and say the agency model is dying. And you're like, what we do is needed in the world. And so it won't end that it's needed. Just
Yeah.
it needs to put on some different trousers.
Yes, we need bigger trousers.
Right. Yeah. That's all. We're changing clothes.
Simple. It is. It's give yourself back permission, reclaim your authority, bring back the belief, and pay it, maybe follow some of our clients that are very generous in publicly, in sharing their story, what they learned, what they didn't know at the beginning that they should have known. They're very good at sharing a very honest view of transforming, and they're very generous to other businesses because they've been there.
Yeah.
So I think there are resources out there that will not only inspire you but also give you confidence.
Yeah.
Because your last question was, what are we really missing if you could pick on one thing? And I would say confidence. We've lost our confidence.
Cool. Well, that's a great ending to our show. Thank you, Carolyn Johnson, for being with us. And just where can people find you online?
At TBMC, tbmc.com. And also I just go onto my LinkedIn, Caroline Johnson, LinkedIn, and there is everything that you could need there.
Very cool. And if people will pick up the book, Madison Avenue Makeover, that's a huge case study, of the change you made at Huge.
Yeah. Our whole program is written up in that book by Michael Farmer.
Okay.
So that's a very good place to start.
Very cool. Okay, cool. Thank you, Carolyn Johnson, for being with us on the Businessology Show. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Jason.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
And you.